You're on mute right now.
Hello, we often kind of want to talk to you today about scholarships. To start us off, we wanted to make sure you know all about the scholarships available through Phi Theta Kappa. Skylar, Brooke, Israel, Paisley, Victor, Michael, Davin, and Kate will be walking us through some of the scholarships found on the PTK website available to all members.
Phi Theta Kappa has several scholarship categories open to students working on their associate's, bachelor's, and even master's degrees. There are also scholarships available for nursing students and other careers or majors. The fall programs have a deadline of December 1st at 5 p.m., and you can take an eligibility quiz at ptk.org. Slide's not turning. Okay. Associate degree scholarships typically open in the spring. The fall application is open for those who are seeking a bachelor's or master's degree.
Scholarships offered through PTK's Common App include the Coca-Cola Leaders of Promise Scholarship, which is awarded to 200 scholars in the amount of $1,000. The Geico Pathway to Completion Scholarship awards $1,000 to 2 scholars who have held a significant leadership position. The 7,500 Heights Scholarship is awarded to 10 scholars who demonstrate outstanding academic achievement. The Geist White goes to 15 scholars who demonstrate outstanding Phi Theta Kappa participation.
There are several workforce scholarships available through PTK, including 52 New Century Pathway scholarships, up to 25 Trustmark Workforce Development scholarships, and one $1,500 Workforce Development scholarship. Students in the nursing programs can apply for the Hearst Review NCLEX scholarship, which is $250, given to 25 scholars in a free subscription to review the NCLEX.
Okay. The Ronnie Coleman and Richard L. Resurrection Scholarship each award $1,000 to students in associate's degree programs that involve majors in fire and emergency services and public safety. Other major-specific scholarships include the Study Buddy TEAS Prep Scholarships for nurses and allied health degrees, and the TEK Production Scholarship for degrees like theater, graphic design, and event management. The Walgreens Pharmacy Technician Certification Scholarship helps to alleviate exams fees and goes to 50 recipients.
When transferring, there are well over 50 green markers that indicate public schools, which offer an unlimited number of transfer scholarships to Phi Theta Kappa members when they apply at these institutions, just for being a member. The many red bubbles indicate schools that offer a limited number of transfer scholarships. There are several organizations and foundations that Phi Theta Kappa lists among their scholarship resources, including the Jack Kent Cook Foundation, which is an undergraduate transfer scholarship of up to $40,000 per year. The Hispanic Scholarship Fund varies in amounts. Applicants must be of Hispanic heritage and apply directly to the fund. The Benjamin Gilman Scholarship is for students who wish to pursue study or internship programs abroad, and the Jeanette Rankin Foundation awards $2,000 to women 35 or older receiving low income.
The Texas region provides several scholarship opportunities through the Dr. Mary Hood Star Scholarships and the Walter B. Cooper Scholarships. Local Rotary clubs and your college foundation may also be a good place to check for regional scholarships.
So now that you know about scholarship opportunities available to you, did you know that PTK offers scholarships resources? By searching on the PTK website, ptk.org website, you can hit the scholarship tab and scroll down to see the scholarship resources offered by PTK, including tips, hints, frequently asked questions, and other helpful links. Davin will tell us more about PTK Connects next.
PTK Connect allows you to research your favorite colleges and universities to find your perfect fit. You can log in on the PTK website with your PTK username and password. PTK Connect is designed to provide you with the relevant, customized information as well as the opportunity for these colleges and recruiters to discover you. Using PTK Connect, you'll be able to find exclusive PTK transfer scholarship opportunities, career pathways, and investigate which academic majors align with your career interest.
Up next, John and Jordan will share with you some of the best scholarship practices for the best possible application.
Before you start your application, make sure to know the purpose. Knowing the purpose will help you save time and energy so that you only apply to scholarships that you're eligible for. Make sure to regularly update and complete your applications. The best way to guarantee that you won't win a scholarship is to forget to submit it. Next, always make sure you meet the requirements, but be honest during eligibility quizzes. You do not want to get yourself into trouble or waste time. Make sure to apply early and start your applications with time to make necessary edits. Remember to make sure to tell your story, not what you think the judges want to hear. Students have a greater chance at resonating with a judge if they are candid and tell their story. Lastly, proof and have several eyes proof your application. Make sure to eliminate grammatical errors and create cohesive content.
Some tips to remember include keep a planner for everything you have done that you can refer back to when applying and trying to summarize your service, leadership, or fellowship events. As John mentioned, make sure to allow yourself plenty of time to write, reflect, and revise your application by starting early. You want to be modest, sincere, and passionate in your writing, but also make sure your application is memorable with your unique story. Power words and action verbs are often used to avoid redundancies and to enhance an application. We have a few listed above, and these include words like articulated, apprenticed, and revitalized.
And now, I would like to introduce Davin with the scholarship story.
When I first applied for a scholarship through Phi Theta Kappa, I'd have to say that at first the experience looked a little daunting coming in. But after reaching out to my advisor, I learned that a lot of the questions are actually a lot easier than they first appear. And after the application process, winning the scholarship was rewarding and a really good experience overall. But I'd have to say what helped me, like what was highlighted in this presentation, was staying true to my story and answering the questions and not trying to go off topic, but sticking to what they asked me and sticking to what my experiences were and what I'd accomplished in my academic career. Thank you.
And to close, we want to make sure you take away the following tips. Make sure to start and complete the application. Studies have shown that an overwhelming majority of the people who start do not finish. Don't be part of those numbers. And make sure to complete your application. You may be surprised with the outcome. Answer the question that's asked, not what you think the judges want to hear. While you may have written an exemplary essay, if you did not answer the question, you will not score high on the judge's rubric, which directly indicates whether the essay question was fully answered. Be careful to answer all essay questions and get as close to the allowed court listed. Remember to tell your story. Make your application memorable and let the judges know you. We would like to answer any questions at this time. Thank you for allowing us to host this workshop, and we wish you the best of luck in your future scholarships.
Shit, this thing was like 10 minutes long. You got to be kidding me.
So there's a lot of great information there. It was very fast and furious. So because we usually block out an hour. So if you have questions, now is the time to ask them. Alpha Mu Chi, like, consistently has a lot of students winning scholarships. They have a good practice in their chapter of how they approach them. It's a good process. And so it's certainly a good opportunity to ask questions right now from them. And then, of course, I'm here to answer anything from kind of an advisor, regional coordinator perspective, to make sure that you have as many tips as possible to help your application stand out. I saw one question that came in. What tips do you have for getting letters of recommendation? And so if you want to answer that from a student perspective, and then I'll address from an advisor perspective.
So for the recommendations, I would recommend that you get the teacher who you feel knows you the best. And sometimes with different scholarships require different letters, either academic or leadership. So just think about which teacher saw the most leadership potential in you, or which teacher saw the most academic potential in you. Who did you impress? Who did you not impress? It's something to think about before you just go ask all your teachers.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. I've seen a lot of students make a mistake in that they chase a title rather than someone who can really write about you. And the title doesn't matter so much, quite honestly. It's the person who can write best about you with respect to what the scholarship is seeking. And so if the scholarship and they're asking for a letter of recommendation saying about leadership, then maybe you want to ask like your chapter advisor or somebody else who's seen you in that leadership capacity, right? Who can write very specifically about that aspect of you. If you ask just a teacher maybe you had online or something, they can write about your academics, but they can't necessarily write about your leadership. So you want to make sure that, again, don't chase titles, ask the people who can really write specific information. The general letters just don't do it. When I've been a judge on scholarship applications, I am moved by the letters that have very specific stories that they can share about how a student stood out in some way, more so than if I saw like a college president say, yeah, there's a great student on the president's list. Like it doesn't have the same impact. Also be sure that you ask in advance. People are very busy, just like y'all are, and you need to approach these scholarships with time to do a good job on them. I think the planner tip was a great idea. Big fan of planners. Everybody who knows me knows that. But it really, like, they can be kind of a monster. They can be intimidating. And so if you break them down, right, into pieces and the different steps of writing and editing and things like that, it's much more approachable. But the same is true with your letters of recommendation. You need to give your recommenders time because they're very busy. And so you want to give them time, not only just to get it done, but to do it well. I usually go through a few drafts when I write a letter of recommendation because I'll start it and then I'll think of something else that I think is a better example. And so I want to rewrite because I want to help you the best I can, right? So I would say at least 2 weeks, okay? At least 2 weeks in advance. More is appreciated. But when you do ask, I always recommend, if possible, it's a little difficult sometimes with COVID right now, but when possible, ask in person, then follow up with an email, and give the recommender specific dates, like this is the date I need the letter by, right? This is what the letter is for. This is what the scholarship is focused on. It's going to help them tailor your letter the way you need it. And share an academic resume as well, because we also often like to weave in other things that we may not personally have seen, but we can be like, we saw them and they're outstanding this while they're also doing these other things, right? And we can weave those things in. So be sure to do all of that. Let's see, going back, there was a study abroad scholarship mentioned earlier. How does one access this scholarship? Also, is it an undergraduate scholarship?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's through the state. Sorry?
No, go ahead.
Through the State Department, yes. Benjamin Gilman.
Yes. We've had a student here who won that before, and it was fantastic. Fantastic experience. So do definitely recommend that. There are lots of scholarship out there. And you'll be able to go back, because we are recording this and we'll put it on our YouTube channel. So you can go back and watch the specific section of the presentation if there was like a scholarship that really stuck out to you, and you can review that if you'd like to. What do you do? Hang on. Yes. What do you do when you feel overwhelmed during the application process? There's sometimes a lot of questions and lots of essays involved. How do you overcome that?
Sometimes it helps and to step back and just look at the bigger picture. If you feel overwhelmed, it just helps taking things one thing at a time. Don't try to just finish the whole application as soon as possible. Just take it one at a time. Planning is the biggest advice I could give anybody. Plan ahead of time when you plan to do what part of a scholarship, especially if it's a big scholarship or it's a very tedious scholarship. So planning would be the biggest advice.
Yeah, absolutely. I also recommend when you start applying for these scholarships, keep copies of everything that you're writing, because a lot of scholarships have very similar questions, and you might be able to reuse some of that you've already written and just make it stronger. So definitely recommend, you've already done the work, like keep copies of all of that so that you can lighten the load a little bit, right? And strengthen it every time. Scholarship applications, quite frankly, it's a process you have to learn, and you get better every time you do it. So I would also say don't disregard smaller scholarships. A lot of people do that. They'll say, oh, it's a $250 scholarship, it's not worth my time. Well, it is worth your time, because this is where you can really kind of hone your skills in that application process. And so don't ever discount a scholarship opportunity. Plus they add up. And if y'all got $250 just to let fly around, you can pay your girl. Like, I'll take some money. It's fine. Just saying. Where do you go to find all these scholarships?
PTK.org.
Yeah. There's a lot of resources with your membership. It's one of the things you pay your fee for, right? To get access to all these resources. And so you can go under the scholarship section of PTK.org. There's PTK Connect. They also mentioned don't disregard your local foundations, Rotary clubs, State Department, like all of these things, right? There are a lot of opportunities there. You just got to seek them out. Smart, hardworking students should never pay for college. Simple as that. And it's interesting. Phi Theta Kappa members say that the number one reason they join overwhelmingly is for scholarships. And then when I see, like when we run the STAR scholarship in the summer, right? When we run that application, and I only see we have like 35 applicants. We got more than 35 members in the Texas region. I don't know if y'all know that. We're a pretty big region. So I don't know what's happening. Don't know why we're not applying, because it's free money. And again, if you can just let money go by, pay your girl, because I like money. I like to buy things, especially shiny things, pink things, pink drinks from Starbucks, just saying. Let's see. Is there a person you can talk to that can help you find a scholarship? Your chapter advisor is your best resource locally for you. Your chapter advisor is well-versed in all things Phi Theta Kappa. Certainly reach out to them. If you've approached them or you don't know them, don't feel comfortable, then feel free to reach out to me afterwards. I'm happy to help in any way. Sadi's here. We got a rock star. Well, we got lots of rock stars on the call, I'm just saying. We got our international officer rock star joining us. There.
Good afternoon. So happy to be here.
We appreciate you joining us. All right. What other questions might we have? I know there are more questions.
Did you catch the one about how to approach the recommendation letter if their learning's been primarily online?
No, I didn't see the second half of that. I just saw the letter of recommendation. Thank you. So if you're primarily online, you can still stand out online. I have quite a few students who stand out online with me and who've only ever taken me online. Like, I could not pick them out anywhere in person, but I know that student and I know the caliber of their work, because not only do they turn in quality work, but they interact with me. they follow up on feedback, they want to learn more, they look for other opportunities. Those types of things are really important. And so don't ever think that just because you may be taking only online classes that there aren't opportunities to build relationships and make connections, because you absolutely can. Seek out your instructor's online office hours, like talk to them. Those relationships are so important. And I think that's one of the things that people overlook in the early part of kind of getting started in college and things like that. The relationships are the most important thing. Because that's who you can go back to for advice, to write letters, things like that. I have people who come back to me like they're applying to go to med school and vet school and things like that. And obviously they've transferred out of our community college several years ago, but they continue to have relationships with me and keep me updated. And I can continue to write letters for them because I see the things that they're doing, and I can really write historically, right? This is what they did when I had them here. And then these are the awesome things they've done since. And so when you get to your college, like when you start a community college, build relationships. When you get to a transfer institution, build relationships. Continue to do that throughout your academic career because they're going to be important for you. And never know, they might help you find your future job. I mean, all kinds of things can happen. And at the very least, you have a support network that can help you in anything that you're facing. So relationship building is important, whether you be online or face-to-face, any context.
I might just interject two other tips that I'm not sure
Yeah.
really strongly before. One had to do with the word count. It's a good idea to copy the questions offline and work on a Word document or a Google Doc, and then ignore the word count initially. So that way you're free to go beyond that. Just tell the story. It's okay to be a little wordy to begin with because you can kind of thinking things through. Then go back and you edit it and condense it down to the maximum word count. That allows the entry to be really meaty. It's like all the main points are in there that you want to say. I always think of it like squeezing a grape or something. It's like it makes it a little richer and thicker if you go beyond the word count and then edit and condense down to it. Another thing that can...
keep going.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, absolutely, keep going.
Yeah, and then obviously you have it too since you've worked on it offline, so you have it for future applications. Another thing that's helpful is to create a story that's authentic, that resonates with the judges, that's true to the person. And one thing that I like to do here at NTCC is ask people to reflect on their deathbed, looking backwards on their life. What do you want to have done? What are your goals? Not just your immediate major, but lifelong. And then what is it that you're doing now to help make those things happen? It helps create a sort of a richer, meatier story then, and how things are coming together to help that bigger picture of where you're going in life. Because that's more than just the major here at the community college.
Yep. Do you see what I'm talking about? How Alpha Mu Chi, like they got all the tips. Like that's a fantastic tip right there. That whole deathbed thing. That I'm gonna write that down because I'm gonna remember that when I'm coaching my students. I mean that's a good thing. The building the story is important, and a lot of people think that you have to have like some type of tragedy in your life in order to be able to stand out to win a scholarship. That's not the case. Everything, like we've all faced different things in our lives, and we've all had learning experiences, and you can tell your story. It doesn't have to be a tragedy. One of our former Texas regional officers, who later became an advisor in my chapter, and now he's working on his PhD in neuroscience at Georgetown. By the way, has not paid a penny for any of his education because of Phi Theta Kappa. But he won the Jack Kent Cooke undergraduate transfer scholarship, right? That's a $120,000 scholarship. And when he first started first of all, his rough drafts were rough. I'm still feeling the pain of them. So don't be afraid if they're rough and they come back marked if you're having an editor, which you should. But one of the things that he worried about when he started his application, he was like, I grew up like a normal person in a middle-class family. Like we didn't have significant tragedies or wants or anything like that. I'm not going to win. And he did, because we just got him to finally focus on telling his story. And that's what's so important. So definitely don't think that, when you're writing, don't think about how, like, that I'm competing with anybody else. Tell your story.
Yes.
That's the most important thing. And I agree, free writing, as far as like, don't think about word limits and stuff, is very important, because if you're trying to write within a 500 word limit or something like that, you're hurting your own creativity in what you're trying to write. So it's much easier to pare down, especially again, if you've got an editor. I always recommend having a team to help you. It's much easier for, like, if somebody brings me an essay and says, well, you look at this, for me to say, strike this, this is not contributing to your story, right? This is not important. Focus on this, develop this more. I can't write it for you. I can't add to it, but I can certainly tell you what to take out of it. So write. Worry about the words later that count.
Yeah, and Mary, to go back to what you said earlier about the story, I think that's an important point, and something we're telling students here. You don't get a scholarship because you have a 4.0, and you don't get a scholarship because you're really poor and need the money. You have to have a story. There has to be a goal. There has to be a reason why the benefactor has to be willing to give you this money. You're going to make the world, authentically, you are going to have an impact on the world. It has to be authentic. I think that comes through when judges read. If you're just making up stuff or saying what you think the judges want to hear, it has to be authentic. It has to be you. And it's different for every single person. But just being poor doesn't get you money. Just having straight A's doesn't get you money. That alone is not enough. It doesn't hurt, but it's not enough in and of itself.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they're investing in you, right? If Jack Kent Cooke gives you that $120,000, they're investing in you.
Yeah.
They want to know that money is, like, going to pay off in some way. They want to know what you plan to do in your life. What else? 35-year age gap, 35-year gap between high school and college. Dr. Fulgham, do you want to address that? What's the best way to address
Jeanette Rankin Scholarship. Is she a woman? Jeanette Rankin Scholarship.
Right?
For that one. It's only for women 35 and older. That's it. And other than that, these scholarships don't really have an age criteria, except for that one. I mean, you can get the Jack Kent Cooke at any age. You can get the Geistweit at any age. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. And even if you have a gap, like, that's part of your story. Explain your story. This is why. Maybe you stayed home to take care of kids, and maybe, like, whatever it is, right? Tell your story, because that's what the judges want to see. They want to learn who you are, and they only know the things that you write in that application. And so you want to, like, this is who I am, right? This is what I've learned. This is how I've grown. This is who I am today and what I plan to do in the future.
And just real quick on the age thing, if you have a gap and you don't address it, that could be an issue for someone, because hiding something is a little weird. But so if you just address it, even if it's not your whole story, that does help the judges when they're looking at it. Because if you're just saying, stop to have kids, you don't have to explain the whole situation, but that tells them why there was a gap. And so just think about that when you're writing. Don't ignore large gaps. I think Sadie has her hand up to say something, like, how do you win $40,000 or $120,000? How much did you get, Sadie? Is that what your
It's
hands up for?
55 now, Dr. Hargis. 55 for 3 years.
Wow, it's gone up.
I think that's more than I make in a year, so let's not talk.
Nice.
I did want to add one thing while we were talking about the story, based on my experience and just because a couple of people reach out to me and ask me to review their essays. So Dr. Hargis, now I'm kind of your role because you reviewed my essay during Jack Kent Cooke. But beside the point, I think many people get stuck with the describing a problem. How I like essays in my scholarship is do a problem solving. So introduce a problem or the challenges you've faced, and then focus on how you solved it, or the challenges that you've encountered, and also what they taught you, and valuable lessons that you learned, maybe people that you helped along the way. And just sometimes describing it, like talking about the challenges, and maybe you didn't really overcome that, is also beneficial, because that shows you how you survive, like what kind of character you have, how you survive the challenges, and if you have what it takes. So Know that you're unique. Don't compare yourself to somebody else, and just tell your own story and your own life.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Ashley, were you wanting to say something? No.
Yeah, so I actually just have two things. So the first thing is someone in the chat's wondering how to know who their leader is. I'm
We're
guessing.
addressing that. It's okay.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm guessing Professor Lender's the answer to that. And then my second question was about what do you do in applications where there's not really a question necessarily asking for your story, so you can't really address maybe gaps in your resume or stuff like that.
Like what?
Just, some applications, they don't have questions that necessarily ask about that.
I think everything's an opportunity to share your story. But as for my leadership experience, I can tell part of my story, right? I grew and changed as a leader. So I think you just approach it from that perspective. It's not always just like, I was a regional officer from this year to this year, right? Write your story.
I gotcha. So it's more finding ways to personalize the questions you're asking. Gotcha.
100%.
Just be sure to answer the question that is asked.
Yep.
And make sure you read the entire question, because sometimes questions will have multiple parts to them. So you want to address everything that's in the question. And a lot of applications have like a box that says like other information or information not elicited elsewhere in the application. And they may give you just like 100 words on a whole lot. But if something is important and you were not able to weave it in the story elsewhere, because I think that is the nicest way to do it if you can. But a lot of them will have this sort of other box, like the Jack Can't Cook, and some of those do have that.
What else?
One thing is doing it as a team. That's one thing that we do here at NTCC is oftentimes we would do like a round table. Everybody would bring their laptop and they kind of work on the scholarships together, because then they can also remind each other of stuff they've done, they've forgotten about. It wasn't in one person's planner, but maybe in somebody else's. It's like, don't you remember when you did this or you helped out with that? And it makes it more fun because you don't compete against each other. You're just trying to be authentically you in your own narrative, in your story. But doing it as a team can help.
Yeah, I love the team approach. We do that with Hallmarks, but I recommend that as well for your scholarships, because I agree, like, I think the other problem is a lot of students are hesitant to brag on themselves. Mm-hmm. And you got to get over that. Get over it. This is your time to say, I am awesome and this is why. And so sometimes when you're with your team, they can help remind you of those things that you would overlook, maybe not talk about so much. Be like, why are you not talking about this awesome thing you did? Like, what is happening? So it's a really good tip. If you like, do it as a chapter, or find, like, there might be 3 of you in your chapter, like, we're going to do this together. Plus, again, you've got that support system as you're going through it. You can help you can be accountability buddies for one another. So if you start slacking on that application writing, the others can be like, why have you not written? Like, we got to work on this. So it can really help you.
And if people from your chapter have won a scholarship before, sometimes it's helpful to share some of their answers, just so people can see like what a winning answer is like, that it's not so intimidating. It's like, oh yeah, I can do this. This is just normal student talk, so that's helpful too.
Absolutely. What else?
There's a question farther up in the chat. What's the best way to overcome writer's block?
Ooh.
Stream of consciousness writing. Just pour it all out and then go back later and edit. That's
true. Yeah, don't focus on it having to be perfect, right? Not when you're doing your early draft, especially if you got writer's block. And then sometimes you do have to set it aside. That's why the planning is so important, because if you continue to write, it's easy to run into some writer's block with that because you're tired. And so allow yourself enough time to be able to set it aside and come back to it. That will help. By the way, these are all tips for hallmarks as well. I'm just saying. Answer the question. Don't worry about the word count in the beginning. All right, okay. All tips for hallmarks. What else? I'm just saying, if we've got Dr. Fulgham here, because she's like the money maker, okay, when it comes to the scholarships, like this is the time to ask.
I think people need to trust themselves and their stories. And if you really are authentically you, back to Socrates, know thyself. It kind of helps and it works. That's where the deathbed analogy, kind of looking, what is it you want to do with your life? Why are you here? You know, it's kind of profound in a way. And actually, we've had people who have gone through the application process and taken it as a chance to be very self-reflective and introspective and think about what it is they want to do with their lives and why, and what it is that motivates them and what drives them and what their personal character is. And even though they haven't won a scholarship, they've come back and said it was very helpful because it helped them prioritize and focus and think about themselves and who they are, which I think is cool. That even if you don't win any money at all, the process itself can be helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What else? I'm seeing some early stressing over here. None of that. It's natural, but again, take a deep breath. I think that was said here, right? Deep breath. Jana said, take a deep breath. And again, rely on your support. You have a support team. They're going to help you. They'll cheer you up when you need it. And sometimes, again, hold you accountable when you need that. We all need that at different times. So it's really important there. Ashley, suffering from imposter syndrome, that happens a lot in high achieving students. It does. But again, like you have value and you have accomplished great things, and you need to make sure that you appreciate that and talk about that. It's important. That confidence. And again, I think that's why your team is important, because we can help you, right? When maybe you have doubts in yourself. We'll be your cheerleaders. I'll get pom-poms out and everything. If anyone needs a cheerleader. Actually, I'll probably just ask Dr. Molly to get pom-poms out because, yeah. But I'll think about pom-poms. Unless they're pink, and then I might actually get them. So a question we have here is, how do you train yourself to be more self-reflective?
I guess to be more self-reflective, you just need to look at all that you've done and see how it impacted you and see how it made you feel, and just take a step back and just look at everything you've done.
Conversations with other people too. Sometimes they can help you see the value of something that maybe you've missed initially.
Or sometimes you may see something in some other people that you didn't know you saw in yourself. Speaking with people does help a lot, yes. When you're both talking about things that you've done, things you've accomplished, accolades you've won, it really helps to see, like, do I see myself in some other people? And then that's some sort of self-reflection right there.
Yeah. We're very quick to give into negative self-talk, and we ignore the positive things, right? The awesome things that we've done. And so you have to work at it's an ongoing battle at times to silence that negative self-talk and focus on the positive and the awesome things that you've done.
I think nothing in life is ever a mistake or a disaster or a negative unless you do not learn something from it. Every single experience, regardless of the outcome, is positive if it gives you the chance to reflect on yourself or you learn something from it. I guess that's the whole point of life. Just
Even if you apply and you feel like you did everything right for a scholarship and you don't end up winning, try to take something away from that. Maybe you did something and it wasn't as good as it should have been, and maybe there was some other issues that you didn't notice in the scholarship, and now that it's done and you can see other people's scholarships, like, oh, maybe I should have done this better, or maybe I should have taken a step back and spent more time on this, or maybe just more time on a scholarship overall. A lot of people tend to wait to the last minute, and they end up not getting it, even though they feel like they did everything correctly. It's just you're stuck. Yeah.
There's always another scholarship. That's the thing. There's always something else. So there's the spring common, there's the fall common, there's the Jack Kent Cook, there's the Gilman, there's the Newdall, there's always another one. They never end.
Which is why it's really important to stay motivated. Even if you don't win one, there's always more coming up. So take what you learn from this one and apply it to the next one.
Yep. And so when people offer you help, please take advantage of that. I cannot tell you how many, I have been an advisor for about 875 years now. Maybe it just feels that way. But I've been an advisor for a while. And every single scholarship cycle, which pretty much is ongoing, but I tell my chapter and I tell regional officers and I tell others, I'm like, I'm happy to help you. Send me your stuff, your early drafts, and I'll give you feedback on it. And maybe every now and then someone takes me up on it. And I don't understand that. If people are offering to help you, please, they want to, they wouldn't offer if they didn't want to help you. Take advantage of that, get that feedback, and try to strengthen that application. And then when you finalize that application, you can always sit back down with your advisor afterwards if you didn't win and say, okay, where could I have made this stronger, so that going into the next scholarship application, right? Just always be looking for that continual feedback, because it will really help you.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to ask for help sometimes, even though you may feel like it's nervous or it's not something that you really do. Sometimes you need help, and we can't help but to admit that we don't want help, or we want to be everything ourselves. But asking for help is always good. You may not always get the help that you need, and you may not always get an answer that you want, but it never hurts to ask, because if you never ask, you'll always be wondering, what if I did ask? Maybe I could have gotten a scholarship if I asked more people and I got more help. So don't be afraid to.
Absolutely. One of the questions we got, and then I see your hand, Sadi. One of the questions we got was, would accomplishments outside of school be acceptable to talk about, such as a military award? Absolutely. Again, if it's appropriate to the question being asked, then draw on the vastness of your experiences and accomplishments to use that, because it's telling your story. It's all part of who you are. So don't be afraid to incorporate that kind of stuff. It's tremendously valuable.
And even if it doesn't necessarily apply what you've done outside of school to your school, you can try and find parallels, or find something that you learned and things that you did outside of school that helped you do things better at school. So just always finding parallels in your story. As long as you true to yourself, you should be.
Absolutely. Sadi, what did you want to share?
I do want to piggyback on the imposter syndrome, and how people were saying sometimes they get stuck and they don't really know what to talk about themselves, and not good at bragging. And I was one of those. I thought if you talk too much about yourself, it's going to be show off. I don't want to hear that. And one time when I was applying for scholarship, I just got into this moment where I did not know what to write. And I was like, I don't think I'm actually good enough for the scholarship. There are going to be so many people applying. And I received a letter of recommendation. And that's my little secret, that sometimes when I feel bad about myself, I read my professor's letter of recommendation. And that makes me feel so good, because, sometimes you put your bar so high, and unreasonably so. So just when you look, when people, how they see you, when they see your potential, your advisors, whether it's your professors, that gives you a little spark and say, you know what, I am good enough. And about applying and not getting the scholarships, I have had that. I applied for Jack and Cook twice. For the first time, I did not become a finalist, but that gave me a tremendous of experience. I became more self-aware. My writing has increased, it has gotten better, and you have a template. The hardest part is to get started. Now, if you complete the whole application, now you have a template to apply to other scholarships. You can just copy and paste, or change it out, a little bit. So it's a great way. Either way, you're winning and you're learning from it. So just, go ahead.
And sometimes that's kind of what you need. You need someone to there's something to step kind of put you down and be like, okay, maybe I should be doing a lot more. I didn't get it this one. I got really depressed or something, but I'm going to come back even stronger than it was. And sometimes you just need to snap back into reality. Sometimes you need something to keep you in check.
Absolutely.
What else? Anything else? Last call for questions. That's right. I think that's a great point, Storm. And I will tell you, I personally get upset. Don't ask me for a letter of recommendation when you're not going to follow through, okay? Because I took a lot of time to write that letter. But it is a way to help hold yourself accountable. I absolutely agree, because we often feel more committed to others than ourselves, which is not always the best. I mean, you should be committed to others, but you should be committed to yourself as well. So I think it's great. Ask for those letters early. And then you'll be like, all right, I'm in it. All right, I've got to do it. So, Jana, how far in advance? Look, as far in advance as you can give somebody notice, I think is helpful. I've had people like, in 3 months, I'm going to need this letter. I'm like, fantastic. Because I just keep that in my email as a running like to-do list. And if I have a few minutes here or there, I know it's there and I'll write a little bit or I'll revise, and it just gives me more time. But be sure you always put that, like, I have to have it by this date so that people don't forget about it. And I'll also say this, particularly if you do ask far in advance, follow up. And there is a kind way to follow up without you having to be like, yo, where's my letter? Like, that's a little abrasive and rude. So maybe just checking back in with you. I'll need my letter in 2 weeks. Wanted to make sure you had everything that you needed to write it. Right? There's a nicer way to ask for it and kind of do that gentle nudge. And sometimes that's helpful because life gets away from all of us, right? And so sometimes, again, particularly if you ask far in advance, it'd be like, oh, wow, I lost a month somewhere. Thank you for that reminder so I can get it finished up. So yeah, kindly follow up with them. And it's absolutely okay to do so.
Because as you said, the teachers are just as busy as we are, if not more busy. So it's easy to forget some things. So following up is a good advice.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else?
The only thing I'd like to add is from the perspective, I do a lot of this with faculty on this side. Not everybody is going to share their letter of recommendation with you. And so just know that it is at the discretion of whoever's writing it for you, whether or not they want to share. Sana Hasedi said that she likes to read her letter. So if somebody doesn't want to share it, it doesn't mean that it's bad, but old school was you would mail them in a sealed envelope and schools would require them sealed. And so a lot of faculty, administrators who are still old school will do that. But I always tell my students that you want to request letters from multiple people. I'll send my letter. I don't have a problem. And I usually ask you to proof it for me. Anna caught like a mistake once or twice. But just know that I know that you might be asking for more. Pick the letter that makes you look better. So if you're going to get multiple letters, but you only need to submit one, I know how Linda said, like, she doesn't want to do all that work if you're not going to submit it.
Just don't tell me and I won't know.
Yeah, like my thing is, if my letter isn't nearly as good as what Linder sends you, my gravy, use Linder's. It's your money. I'm just trying to help as much as I can. But if somebody writes a better letter than me, if you'd ask me, I'd tell you to refuse it. So always remember that this is the time to be as selfish as possible. And it's totally okay to do what's best for you. And so you need to know that going ahead. And so I just always want to tell people, ask multiple letters, and if you can, make the choice, but also just know that some people will not share.
Yep, I agree. And Sadi emphasized again something I said very early on about sending that academic resume when you request those letters of recommendation. Really can't emphasize that enough, because I do try to incorporate other things, because it's really nice if I can say, these are all the amazing things they did as chapter president, whatever, right? While also doing all these other things. So it kind of nudges and helps remind us, or helps us see you even in a bigger picture, right? And we can brag on you even more. So don't forget to include that academic resume or a brag sheet. I like that. So it can help with the letter writing, certainly. These are the times to brag on yourself, 100%. Absolutely, don't forget it. Write it on a sticky, put it on your mirror. I am awesome, and it's okay to brag on myself. And I need to see pictures of everybody putting that on their mirrors. Okay. All right. I better see pictures. I know who's here. That sounded like a threat. It was. How many letters should you get? Yes. Thank you, Sadi. Can always count on you. So Jane, again, like if the application's asking for 2, then I think it's good to ask for 3 or 4 letters just so you can pick your strongest. I wouldn't go crazy and ask for like 12. That who wants to manage that madness? But I would say 3 or 4 is a good number to have, and you can pick your strongest. Now, if they have to submit them, like Jack and Cook, I mean, I haven't seen this cycle application because it hasn't opened yet, but traditionally we get a link and we submit directly. So I'm assuming they'll do that again this year. Then you may not, you'll have to pick at that point. So but you can always talk to your recommenders and say, would you share it with me in advance so I can, like I can see it, whatever. And then you can share the link with the 2. All right. Anything else? All right, I want to thank Alpha Mu Chi for a wonderful presentation. Really appreciate it. Very informative. Really reminded us to use the resources. There's a lot of information on ptk.org. Do not hesitate to use ptk.org. Go to PTK Connect and tap into your chapter leaders, your regional leadership, international leadership for advice and for connections on resources and things like that. We're all here to help everyone be more successful. So thank you everyone for being here. Again, this will be going up on our YouTube channel. And so if you know somebody in your chapter maybe who wasn't able to join today, then you can say, hey, go over there to the YouTube channel. And in a few days, it'll be up there for you. And they can watch it. And you can watch it again and again and again. So lots of good stuff. All right. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you, Alpha Mu Chi. Thank you, Dr. Fulgham. I appreciate all the tips because I wrote a lot of those down. Like it. Y'all have a fantastic day.
Bye.
Bye.